This demonstration will cover how to complete and submit the Notice of IDR Initiation Resubmission web form. For the demonstration today, we are going to look at this form in a test environment. All of the data that I will be entering or the data that has been pre-populated is made-up test data. Access to this form will be through a unique link that will be emailed to the initiating party from the Federal IDR portal when a dispute has been determined as eligible for resubmission. The subject line of the email will read, Notice of IDR Initiation, Resubmission Form Due. Upon selecting the link provided in the email, you will land on the Notice of IDR Initiation, Resubmission Welcome page, as you can see here. On this page, there are a few notes and reminders that the initiating parties will want to review, including some general information about the overall process and instructions to completing the web form. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the IDR questions mailbox at federalidrquestions@cms.hhs.gov. There is also a reminder here letting you know that you must complete the form in a single session and that your session will time out after 60 minutes of inactivity. After reviewing the information at the top of this page, the initiating party should read this warning message and the security and privacy agreement. At the bottom of this page, select the checkbox next to the security and privacy agreement and select Continue. The dispute reference number listed in the subject line or body text of the email should be entered in the dispute reference number field before selecting Continue. Then we get to the next screen, which would look familiar as this form is an abbreviated version of the Notice of IDR Initiation form. Many of the fields on this form will be pre-populated based on the information that was entered in the original dispute. As you can see, the IMA, tax ID, and health plan type fields are pre-populated. The IMA field will not be editable, but the tax ID, national provider identifier, and health plan type fields are editable if that information requires updating. Selecting Continue will take us to the next page. The point of contact page contains contact information for the parties, which will also be pre-populated based on the original dispute. The fields for party type and name will be uneditable, but the fields for address, contact information, and primary and secondary contacts are editable in case that information needs to be updated. For this demo, no information here needs to be updated, so I will select Continue. On this page, the assigned certified IDR entity will pre-populate to the original IDR entity on the original dispute and will not be editable. This is so that when this form is submitted, this new dispute will be automatically assigned to the same IDR entity that was assigned to the original dispute. The Summary of Qualified Items and/or Services table will display all the line items that were sent for resubmission in this specific grouping. Please note that certified IDR entities may send all dispute line items and/or services eligible for resubmission in one grouping, or they may send multiple groupings for resubmission. In the case of multiple groupings, the initiating party will receive separate emails with separate unique links to the Notice of IDR Initiation Resubmission web form. It is the responsibility of the initiating party to review all line items and/or services in a particular grouping and ensure that any line items or services being resubmitted together are compliant with federal IDR batching and bundling criteria. You may click on each line item link to view more detailed information about the item. The fields here will be pre-populated with the information that was entered in the original dispute, but are editable, so you may update information as required. The documentation of the claim in QPA that was attached to the original dispute will be referenced in the payment information section. The initiating party should refer back to their internal files to determine what documentation they had submitted in the original dispute, and also determine if additional documentation should be uploaded. If so, you may select the Upload Files button or drag and drop files into this area. Before moving forward, ensure that all required fields marked with the red asterisk are completed and select the Save and Continue button at the bottom of the page. The initiating party should take the time to review the detailed information for all line items in the table. From the table, the initiating party will have the option to save line items for later. Saving items for later will remove the line items from the current dispute, and there will be an opportunity to submit another dispute or disputes for those items later. There is more information about saving for later in the text above. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will save 2 line items for later by selecting the checkbox next to the line item and selecting the Save for Later button. A pop-up window will appear with an important note and a question asking if you would like to proceed. I will select Yes, and now you can see that the items have been removed from the table, and we will be able to review them again later. If any line items were removed in error at this point, you may either refresh or re-enter the form, and the items will reappear. Moving along, additional supporting documentation can be uploaded in this section as long as the file size is less than 500 MB. And to proceed forward, the initiating party will select the checkbox next to this statement in the Sign and Submit section and enter their name in the initiating party field to sign the web form. The date will automatically populate to today's date, and then we can select Continue. Now we have the question of what are you disputing today? There is the option to submit as a single, bundled, or batch dispute, and there is information in the section above to guide the initiating party on what type of dispute they are submitting. If the original dispute is batched, the batch option will automatically be selected, as you can see here. However, this option will not display if there is only one line item being resubmitted. If the dispute type is single, there is a secondary question asking if you are submitting a bundled arrangement. Because this dispute contains more than one line item, the Yes Radio button is automatically selected and cannot be changed to No. I'll continue by indicating that this dispute is a batch dispute. Select Submit, and you will see the confirmation page that outlines next steps. Now that the web form has been submitted, it is the responsibility of the initiating party to download and print a copy of the Notice of IDR Initiation Resubmission web form by selecting the Print PDF button and saving this file for their records. It is also the responsibility of the initiating party to send a copy of this PDF to the non-initiating party. Both parties will receive confirmation emails from the Federal IDR portal, letting you know that the web form has been submitted. If you saved any items for later, you will see the Continue Submitting button. Please note that you must first select Print PDF to download a copy of the form as required, as you will not be able to return to this page afterwards. Once you do, selecting Continue Submitting will redirect you back to the Summary of Qualified Items table to review the line items you saved for later, and you may proceed to resubmit the line items as appropriate. You also have the option to exit this form and come back to the items saved for later at a later time using the same web form link in the email from the Federal IDR portal. I'll go ahead and click Continue Submitting. And now we are back to the page with a Summary of Qualified Items table with the 2 line items that we previously saved for later. I will use these line items now to demonstrate an alternate scenario where we have a batched original dispute that will be resubmitted as a single bundled dispute, so you can see how the system guides initiating parties through the form for this specific process. So we will continue through the form as we did previously by reviewing the table, uploading additional documentation as necessary, and completing the Sign and Submit section. We land again on the question of what are you disputing today? Because the original dispute was submitted as batched, the batched option will automatically be selected. But to demonstrate an alternate scenario, I am going to change the dispute type from batch to single. Because this dispute contains more than one line item, the Yes radio button is automatically selected for the question of whether we are submitting a bundled payment arrangement. I'll select Continue. Because we are resubmitting as a bundled dispute, we will have to review the line items, identify the item or service type, and ensure that all required fields are completed. In the item or service type field, the initiating party will identify if the line item will be the bundled item or service or the component item or service. I'll indicate test item 3 as the bundled item. You will then want to verify and ensure that all required fields marked with the red asterisk are completed before selecting Save and Continue. Once a line item is identified as the bundled item, the remaining line items of the dispute will automatically be updated as the component item or service. Review that all required fields are completed, and select Save and Continue to progress through each line item. You will be able to review all changes again here in the Summary of Qualified Items and/or Services table, where you can now see that the line item type column is populated. Continue through the additional supporting documentation and Sign and Submit sections, and select Continue. You will reconfirm the dispute type you are submitting and select Submit. We have now submitted the web form, as you can see from this confirmation page. As detailed in the next steps, the initiating party is required to download and print a copy of the web form by selecting the Print PDF button and saving this file for their records. It is also the responsibility of the initiating party to send a copy of this PDF to the non-initiating party. And once they are ready to exit the form, they can select the Exit button. This concludes the demonstration of the Notice of IDR Initiation Resubmission web form.